Chapter 8 of Jin Ping Mei's Chongzhen edition. Looking forward to the lover, and the beautiful lady, the ghost of a nation. The monk who burns the husband listens to the obscene sounds. The word sees, their dawn rolls up the window screens, and I half drag my clothes when I wake up. It's like waiting to get up from sleep. The sun is not high yet. The wind in the Jade building blew up the flowers, making it difficult for people upstairs to sleep. There is a person in front of my eyes and in my heart. It is said that Simon Qingzi married Yulu at home, and Yaner was newly married, and they were like glue. I also met one sister-in-law, the emissary from Chen's house, who came to tell me that I was going to marry my eldest sister on June 12th. Simon King couldn't make a bed in a hurry, so he gave his eldest sister a Nanjing gold-painted bamboo bed brought by Mang Yulu. 3 days and 9 days. It was chaos for more than a month, and I never went to Pan Jinlian's house. The woman leaned against the door every day and looked through her. He sent Wang Po to look for him at the head of his door. The boy at the head of the door knew that it was Pan Jinlian who sent him, so he ignored him. The woman was looking forward to it. When her mother-in-law came back, she asked her daughter to look for her on the street. How dare that little girl enter his deep compound? He only looked around at the door, but Simon King came back without seeing him. When he came home, a woman scolded him in the face, blaming him for being useless and asking him to kneel down. I was hungry until noon and refused to eat with him. At this time, it was the dog days of summer, and the woman was suffering from fever, so she ordered Yinger to heat the water and wait for him to take a bath. I made another basket of stuffed meatballs and waited for Simon King to come and eat. Wearing only a gauze shirt, he sat on a small stool, looking forward to Simon King's rival and scolding him a few times for being a traitor, heartless, and emotionless. I took off the red embroidered shoes from my feet with my delicate hands and tried to make a love sickness divination. It's exactly this. Don't dare to speak loudly when meeting people, and ask people who are far away to predict money secretly. There is evidence from mountain sheep. Ling Boluasics were born naturally, and Hong Yun died the acacia hexagram. Like a lotus root sprouting buds, like a lotus unloading its flowers. Why are they so entangled? The wicker is now half-forked. He doesn't miss us. Why don't we miss him? Leaning against the door, whispering behind the curtain, Kong calls the slave under the quilt and calls him names and scolds him. How can you love fireworks and not come to my house? Who can I teach you to draw? Where are the green poplars to tie the horses? He failed us. How could we ever fail him? Illustrations from the Chongzhen edition of Plum and the Golden Ping. The woman performed the acacia divination for a while, but she didn't feel sleepy, so she lay on the bed and fell asleep. I woke up about an hour later, feeling unhappy. Yinger asked, "The water is hot. Why don't you take a bath?" The woman asked, "Is the jower steamed? Bring it to me." Yinger quickly took it to the room. The woman counted with her delicate hands and found that she originally made a cage with 30 corners. After turning it over and over, she counted only 29. Then she asked, "Where did that one go?" Yinger said, "I don't know. I didn't see it. I'm afraid my mother counted it wrong." The woman said, "I counted it twice, and it's 30 dimes, waiting for your father to come and eat. How did you steal one? What a coquettish and slutty slave. You are a greedy person, and you want to eat this little thing in your heart. You can't eat from a big bowl or a small bowl, so I'll be filial to you." Without any explanation, he stripped off the little girl's clothes and took a horsewhip. After 20 or 30 blows, Nizzy screamed like a pig, asking him, "If you don't admit it, I will beat you hundreds of times." Nizzy, who was beaten, became anxious and said, "Mom, please stop beating me. I was so hungry that I ate one secretly." The woman said, "You secretly ate one?" "Yes. How can you rely on me to count wrongly? You are looking like a whore who is the bane of the prison. When the dead 8 were round, you neglected learning and focused on accusing. Where did you go today? You are still playing tricks in front of me. I only put you in this prison. You're a whore. I'll cut you off." After beating him once, he put on his little clothes, let him get up, and ordered him to be fanned nearby. He slapped her once and said, "Whore, please calm down and wait until I pinch your skinny face twice." The girl was really relieved. but she was pinched twice with blood by the woman's sharp nails. He was spared because of his mouth. After a long time, I walked to the mirror, ray-dressed, and stood under the curtain. By chance, Diane was riding a horse and hitting the woman's door as he passed by with a felt bag under his arm. The woman stopped and asked him where he was going. The young man was well-spoken and often walked with Simon King in the woman's house. The woman often interacted with him and became familiar with him. As he dismounted, he said, "My father asked me to go to the garrison as a favor." The woman came in and asked, "What's going on at your father's house? Why don't you come and see me?" "I'll tell you another story. I fell in love with a sweet sister." Diane said, "My father has never married a sister again. It's just that he has been busy at home these days and can't get away to see his sixth aunt." The woman said, "It's just that there is something going on at home, and I feel embarrassed there. For a month and a half, I haven't sent a single message. I just don't take it to heart." Yin asked Diane, "What's the matter? Tell me." The boy just laughed and refused to say anything. When the woman saw that Dan was smiling for a reason, she asked more tightly, "What's the matter, Duan?" Dan smiled and said, "I just said it's something about Chun. What's wrong with sixth aunt just asking questions?" The woman said, "Okay, little oily boy, if you don't tell me, I will annoy you for the rest of your life." The boy said, "I told Aunt Six, and Aunt Six must not tell Dad that I said it." The woman said, "I will never tell him." In this way, Diane told her family about marrying Meng Yulu from beginning to end. The woman refused to listen. After hearing this, tears flowed down her cheeks. Dan panicked and said, "Sixth aunt, you are so narrow, so I didn't tell you." The woman leaned against the door, sighed, and said, "Dan, you don't know. He and I, the kindness I had in the past has been forgotten today." They couldn't help but shed tears. Diane said, "Sixth aunt, why are you doing this? My mother doesn't care about him at home." The woman then said, "Diane, listen Tom, Kiyosai is evil and won't come for a month." The slaves embroidered the Mandarin duck quilt and stayed in the open for 30 nights. His pretty heart is different from mine, and my infatuated heart is dull. The difference makes me very hot. As the saying goes, easy to get, easy to give up. Xing means passing. Yuan means dividing. After saying that, he cried again. Dan said, "Sixth aunt, please stop crying. I'm afraid it's not just these 2 days for my dad, but his birthday is coming too. Write a few words and I'll take them to you. After reading them with my dad, you'll definitely have a good time come." The woman said, "I'm going to tire you, so please invite him to come tomorrow. I will make a pair of good shoes for you to wear. I will also wait here for him to come and live with him. If he doesn't come, he will be there. It's on your little oily mouth." After saying that, Ling Yinger put the steamed corner off the table on a plate and sent Diana to have tea. While walking into the room, he took out a piece of flower paper, picked up a jade tube, played with wool, and after a while, wrote a poem Parasite Grass. The word says, "I will send this intimate message to my slave with a flower node and send it to him. I remember when I had black silk hair, I leaned under the curtain and suffered some undisturbed fright. You have betrayed your slavish heart and refused to return my fragrant luopa." After writing it, he folded it into a feng shanger, sealed it, and gave it to Diane to take it away. He said, "At least pay more to him. When it's his birthday, be sure to come and take a walk. I'll keep an eye on you here." Na Diane ate some snacks. The woman gave him dozens of coins. Before going out to mount the horse, the woman said, "When you see your father at home, tell Aunt Six that he won't scold you. If he doesn't come, tell Aunt Six that she will come tomorrow in a sedan chair." Dan said, "Aunt Six, you can eat it yourself." You, the noodle seller, bumped into the barbarian who was complaining about his grievances, Ma Fan's tent. After saying that, he rode off. The woman waited long and short every day, like a stone sinking into the sea. July is coming to an end and it's his birthday. This woman waited for a day, like 3 autumns, and waited for a whole night like midsummer, but there was no news. Unconsciously, the silver teeth are biting secretly, and the stars are flowing. In the evening, I had to call Po Wang again, arrange wine and meet with him. Pull out a gold-hatted silver hairpin and give it to him, and go to Simon King's house to invite him. Wang Po said. This morning and evening, before tea and after drinking. He will definitely not come. When I come tomorrow, I will ask him to come early. The woman said, Godmother, you must remember this. Don't forget it. The old woman said. I'm in charge of what kind of business? Why are you willing to miss out on the job? This woman was in need of money, so she got the hairpin and went home with a red face after eating. Let's say that the woman was in the room, with a fragrant mandarin duck quilt and a silver lamp, unable to sleep, sighing and sighing. Exactly, I have to play the pipa diligently for a long time at night, but I can't bear to play it in a lonely and empty room. So I played the pipa alone and sang my entrexu. Who would have thought that you had another hairpin? The slave was so angry that he seemed drunk and infatuated. He leaned against the screen and deliberately guessed, not understanding. Why throw it away? I sent letters and letters, but you didn't come. If you betray the kindness of a slave, people will not bring disasters for the sake of enmity. The woman tossed and turned all night and never fell asleep. At dawn, he asked Yinger, cross the wall to see if Grandma Wang has invited your father. Not long after Yinger left, he said, Grandma Wang has gone out a long time ago. Let's say that the woman went out in the morning and came to Simon King Men to inquire, but she said she didn't know. After waiting for enough time at the foot of the opposite wall, I saw Mr. Fu coming to open the shop. The mother-in-law walked forward and said a blessing. I want to ask, is the official at home? Mr. Fu said, why are you looking for him? You asked me the first time, but you didn't know him the second time. The official yesterday on my birthday, I treated guests at home, drank wine all day, and took all my friends to the courtyard in the evening. I didn't go home all night. Where are you going to find him? The woman said goodbye and came to Dongjiku before leaving the county. We are heading to Gulan Alley. I saw Simon King riding a horse from the east, followed by 2 young men. At this time, he was still drunk. His eyes were wet. He was leaning forward and backward. The mother-in-law shouted loudly, officials, please eat less. She stepped forward and grabbed the horse's bit. Simon King was drunk and asked, you are Wang Ganyang. Do you think it is Sixth Sister who is looking for me? The woman whispered into his ear. After a few words, Simon King said, young man came to my house to tell me. I know that Sixth Sister is annoyed with me, so I will go now, talk. When he arrived at the door of the woman's house, the mother-in-law went in first and reported, congratulations, madam. It's a shame that I have invited the high officials to come here in less than half an hour. When the woman heard that he was coming, she felt like something fell from the sky. Generally speaking, he quickly came out of the room to greet him. Simon King came in, waving his fan, half drunk with wine, and sang with the woman. The woman returned the blessing and said, officials and nobles rarely see each other. Why did you lose your slave and never come to see him? The bride is with you at home, and it reminds you of your slave's family. Simon King said, don't listen to people's nonsense. What kind of bride do you want to be? Because my daughter is getting married and has been busy for several days. I have no time to come and see you. The woman said, you are still coaxing me. If you didn't pity the new and abandon the old, what else could you do? Others, if you swear by Wang Diao, I will believe you. Simon King said, if I betray you, I will suffer from big boils, yellow disease for 3 to 5 years, and maggots in my pockets. The woman said, you heartless thief. What does it matter to you if there are maggots in your pocket? She took off a new corrugated hat with tassels on his head with one hand and threw it on the ground. The panicked Wang Po picked it up from the ground, put it on the table for him, and said, madam, it's only my fault that I didn't go to invite the officials. That's why I came here. The woman pulled out another hairpin from his head. I held it in my hand and looked at it, but it was a little oily gold hairpin with 2 characters on it. Golden horse neighs in the grass. People in Yulu are drunk in the apricot flower sky. But it was brought by Mang Yulu. The woman guessed that it was the singer who gave it to him. So she took it away and put it in her sleeve, saying, you haven't changed your mind yet. Where did your hairpin go? Simon King said, your hairpin was stolen the day before yesterday, drunk. He fell off his horse, dropped his hat, spread his hair, and disappeared. The woman flicked her hand on Simon King's face and said, "Brother, you are so drunk that your eyes are blurry. I can't even believe it when I coax a 3-year-old child." Wang Po interjected from the side, "Don't blame me, madam. Sir, 40 miles away from the city, he saw a bee stinging shit. And when he went out to meet an otter and an elephant, he stumbled over it. So he looked at you from afar. Don't look down upon those who are close." Simon King said, "You are so tight. You are a prisoner, and you are making fun of yourself." The woman saw that he was holding a Sichuan fan made of fine red bones, sprinkled with gold, and hinged with gold nails, and brought it over to welcome the bright spot. After taking a photo, it turned out that the woman had been accustomed to knowing the affairs of women for a long time. When she saw that there were many broken eyes on the fan, she suspected that it belonged to that wonderful man. Unexpectedly, 2 of them were broken. When Simon King rescued it, it was already torn. He said, "This fan was given to me by a friend of mine, Bushidao. I have always hidden it and never used it. I only had it for 3 days today, and it was torn to pieces by you." The woman ridiculed him once. When she saw Yinger bringing tea, she asked Yinger to put down the saucer and kowtow to Simon King. Grandma Wang said, "It's enough for you and your wife to chat for half a day. Don't miss your business. I'm going to clean up in the kitchen." The woman ordered Yinger to arrange the food and wine that had been arranged in advance to celebrate Simon's birthday, took it to the room and placed it on the table. The woman took out things from the box to celebrate Simon's birthday, put them on a plate, and placed them in front of her for Simon King to watch. But it is a pair of black satin shoes, a pair of pickline vanilla border, pine, bamboo and plum blossom 3 friends, sauce-colored satin knee pads, a green silk gauze, a purple thread belt in water gloss silk, filled with rows of grass roses. There is a hairpin with lotus petals on the head. On the hairpin was a 5-character and 4-sentence poem, which said, "I have a lotus with a lotus head, and I gave it to you as a gift. We share the same hair, so don't abandon each other." When Simon King saw him, he was filled with joy and gave the woman his hand. She hugged him, kissed him, and said, "How did I know you were so smart?" The woman taught Yinger to hold a pot and pour a cup to celebrate Simon. Flowers were fluttering and candles were placed, as if she was kowtowing for times. Simon King quickly dragged him up. The 2 sat side by side, exchanging glasses of wine. The Lady Wang had a few glasses of wine with her, and with a blushing face, she said goodbye and went home. The 2 of them were having fun. The woman had been drinking with Simon King for a long time, and when she saw how late it was, she saw thick clouds cover the night, and dark fog locks the sky. The stars compete with the bright moon, and the green water and the sky are as blue as blue. Monks go to ancient temples, and crows fly in the deep woods. Travelers rush to deserted villages, and dogs bark in alleys. At that moment, Simon King ordered the boy to go back to his house and rested at the woman's house. Towards the end of the night, the 2 of them tried their best to have sex with each other, and their lust was unbridled. As the saying goes, extreme happiness leads to sadness. Time passed quickly. Dan Biaowusong took the gift from the magistrate and left King County. He actually went to Lieutenant Shu in Tokyo, where he handed over the gift and delivered the box and luggage. After waiting for a few days, he got a reply and led a group of people back to Shandong. The weather was March or April when I left, but when I came back it was summer and autumn. It rained continuously on the road, and the date was late. There are 3 months back and forth. Walking on the road to sit and lie down, I felt restless and in a trance, so I couldn't help but send a soldier to inform the county magistrate. He also privately sent a letter home to his brother Wu Da, saying that he would only return it within August. The native soldier first sent a notice to the county magistrate, and then came directly to arrest the Wu family. But it was unreasonable, and Wang Po was at the door. When the soldier saw that the door of Wu's family was closed, he called the door. The mother-in-law asked, "Who are you looking for?" The soldier said, "I am the head of Wu Du who sent me to ride to his brother." The mother-in-law said, "Wu Daling is not at home. He has gone to his grave. If you have a letter, please give it to me. When he comes back, I will hand it to him." "That's normal," The soldier went forward and sang a song, then took out a letter from his side and handed it to Mrs. Wang, hurriedly rode up to Tuku. The old lady took the letter and walked through the back door of the woman's house. It turned out that the woman and Simon King had been crazy all night, and they slept together until dinner time. Wang Po shouted, "Officials and ladies, get up and talk to you." Now Wu has sent soldiers to send a letter to his brother, saying that he will arrive soon. I will take it and send him away. You must not delay. It is necessary. Take a long break early. Simon King refused to hear that everything was over. After hearing this, he said exactly, divide the door into 8 pillars, and pour down half a bucket of ice and snow. He and his wife hurriedly got up, put on their clothes, and invited Wang Po to sit down in the room. Take out the book and read it with Simon King. The book says, I just go home during the Mid-Autumn Festival. Both of them panicked and said, What's wrong? My godmother hides everything about me. I will repay my kindness and I dare not forget it. Now my love is as deep as the sea and we can't let go of each other. Worse fellow when we come back. We have to disperse. What should we do? The mother-in-law said, Officials? What's the problem? I said the day before yesterday that young people marry by their own parents, and later children marry by themselves. In ancient times, uncles and sisters-in-law did not have access to the same family. But now in Wuhan University after 100 days, the eldest lady invited some monks to burn the spiritual sign. Before Wu arrived home, the high official married him in a sedan chair. I will have something to say when Wu comes back. What dares he do? From now on, you two can live a life of peace. Isn't it wonderful? Simon King said. That's what the godmother said. That day, Simon King and his wife finished breakfast and agreed that the 6th day of August would be the 100th day of Wuhan University. Ask the monk to burn the spirit. On the evening of the 8th day of the lunar month, I went to the married woman's house. The 3 people's plan has been decided. After a while, Dan came to take him home with a horse. Time flies. The sun and the moon fly by, and the 6th day of August has arrived as early as possible. Simon King took a few taels of silver and came to the woman's house to teach Wang Po, and invite 6 monks from the Baoan temple to do water and land work at home, to pray for Wu Da, and to exorcise spirits at night. In the first 5 hours of the morning, the Taoists picked up the sutras, laid out the monastery, and hung the Buddha statues. Wang Po accompanied the cook to arrange a meal on the stove. Simon King rested at the woman's house that day. After a while, the monk came, shook the spiritual pestle, played the drum and cymbals, chanted sutras and repented, and preached the Dharma without going into details. How could Pan Jinlian be willing to fast and sleep with Simon King until half the sun, and still not get up? The monk asked the master of the house to burn incense and worship the Buddha. The woman just got up to wash herself, dressed herself up, and came to worship in front of the Buddha. When all the monks saw Wu Da's wife, they were all fascinated by the Buddha nature and Zen mind. They couldn't control their thoughts and were confused and became a lump. But see, the leader of the class is frivolous and does not know how to recite Buddha's name upside down. Vimalakirti is confused and recites sutras without caring about the high and low. Those who burn incense push over the vase. Those who hold candles hold the incense box by mistake. The alliance was announced, and the Song dynasty was mistakenly called the Tang dynasty. Sali confessed, and Wu Daling mistant Wu several times. The elder was busy and borrowed his disciple's hand to play the drum. The novice monk was in a mood and smashed the old monk's head with his mallet. In the past, if one's asceticism rested for a while, 10,000 Vajras would not be able to descend. The woman burned incense in front of the Buddha, read Chinese characters, bowed to the Buddha, and returned to her room to accompany Simon King as before. Put on a banquet of meat and fish, and go and enjoy yourself. Simon King told Po Wang, you can just agree to it if you have something to do. Don't ask him to come and make noises, to Sixth Sister. The Po laughed and said, you can just enjoy it and let me and that bald man deal with it. Let me tell you that when the monk met Wu Da's wife Kiao Mo Kiao, she kept it in mind. After going to the temple to rest at noon, The woman was drinking and having fun with Simon King in the room. It turns out that the woman's bedroom is separated from the Buddhist hall by a wooden wall. A monk arrived first and was washing his hands in the basin under the woman's window. Suddenly he heard the woman quivering softly in the room, moaning and humming, as if someone was having sex. Then he washed his hands, stood still and listened. I could only hear the woman's gasping voice calling, "Dada, how long will you only care about opening the door? I'm afraid the monk will come and hear me. Spare the slave and throw it away as soon as possible," Simon King said. "Don't panic. I'm going to burn it on the lid too." The bald guy listened with great joy. After a while, all the monks arrived and began to play and perform religious rituals. One by one, they all knew that the woman had a man in the room, so they all danced with their hands and feet without realizing it. When the Buddhist service was completed and the spiritual treasure was sent out in the evening, the woman had already removed her filial piety bun and immediately burned the spiritual tablet. And the Buddha? The thief saw with cold eyes a man and a woman standing side by side in the curtain. Thinking of the activities he heard during the day, he could only play drums and cymbals randomly. The wind blew the elder's monk's hat to the ground, revealing his bald head. He didn't pick it up and just played the cymbals and drums, laughing together. Wang Po then shouted, "Master, the paper horse has been burned. Why are you just opening it?" The monk replied, "There is also a paper stove lid that has not been burned." When Simon King heard this, he ordered Wang Po send him the money quickly. The elder said, "Please thank me, Madam Hostess." The woman said, "My godmother said I would forgive him." All the monks said, "It is better to forgive me." They all laughed. Exactly, the partition wall must have ears. There must be no one outside the window. There is poetry depraved. That ultra burned her soul and felt unjust, and the king listened to the obscene sounds on the wall. Sure enough, Buddhism can eliminate sins, and the souls of the dead feel miserable when they hear it.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.